Hey there, welcome back to The Empowered Edge, the podcast where we unlock your best self through optimal health, a resilient mindset, and lasting habits. I'm your host, Jenna Hostetler, and today is part 2 of our 3-part series on sugar cravings, gut health, and weight loss with nutritionist Stephanie Grosvenor. You know, for years, artificial sweeteners were marketed as a guilt-free alternative to sugar. 0 calories, 0 weight gain, 0 consequences. But we know better now, and research tells us a very different story. These sugar substitutes could very well be fueling inflammation, gut imbalances, and even weight gain. So in this episode, Stephanie and I dive into how artificial sweeteners impact your gut microbiome, why they may be stalling your weight loss despite being calorie-free, and better alternatives that support your gut and keep cravings in check. So if you've ever wondered whether or not artificial sweeteners are actually good for you and if you should be eating them, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. You mentioned stevia a little bit earlier. So can you talk a little bit about, artificial sweeteners or even like those natural lower calorie sweeteners? Is that a good alternative? Is that something people should be using a lot of? Or, do the artificial sweeteners affect our gut differently?
Yes, they do. That's a great question. I'm so happy you brought it up. Never, ever, 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 ever touch artificial sweeteners. I cannot stress this enough. I tell my clients, if you are going to have something sweet, if you've got on the table sugar and an artificial sweetener, sweet and low, an equal bunch of Splenda, I think is another one, rather go and have the sugar than have the artificial sweetener. And I know the reason why people are using the artificial sweetener is because of weight. They don't want to gain weight. They want to keep their calories down. But weight is not calories in versus calories out. That will play a part of it, but that is a very small part. And by eating these artificial sweeteners, you are actually increasing your risk of gaining weight. You are putting your body under stress, and weight gain is inevitable with using these artificial sweeteners at a far higher rate than what it is from the few calories you get from sugar. So I don't encourage anybody to ever touch artificial sweeteners, and it's not just the stuff that you're putting in your coffee or your tea or your juices. Artificial sweeteners are found in a lot of our packaged goods. And this is something you need to be aware of. That's why I encourage people, and I work a lot with my clients on learning how to read labels. You need to be able to identify this, because they hide these sugars under in almost everything, these artificial sweeteners. So artificial sweeteners destroy your gut bacteria. It also has a terrible effect on your brain. It can increase brain fog. It can increase ADHD. It puts you at higher risk for Alzheimer's. Artificial sweeteners are incredibly inflammatory, so they create a lot of excess inflammation in the body. And what a lot of people don't realize is that often the excess weight that you are carrying around, it's not fat, it is inflammation. And that is why a lot of people will exercise 2 hours a day and eat a very clean diet, and their weight's not going anywhere, because it's not fat that they need to lose, it's inflammation. It's like you feel that you have this body underneath, but you have this suit over you, this like puffy layer, and that is inflammation. And the moment we can get rid of that, the weight starts to fall off naturally. So artificial sweeteners dramatically increase your inflammation within the body, which is actually going to cause you to gain weight. Having said that, there are a few natural sweeteners that are safe to use. The first one is stevia, that most people are familiar with. This is 0 calorie and it is safe. It's completely natural. It does have a bit of an aftertaste, so not everybody enjoys it that much. But you need to also be careful what stevia you are buying, and make sure you look at the back of the package, and it must say stevia leaf or stevia leaf extract. You don't want there to be anything else in there. The second one that I really like and recommend to people is something called monk fruit, very similar to stevia. That's my favorite sweetener to use. And I use it a lot for baking and things like that, where you can't necessarily use blueberries or whatever for sweetness. And then the third one that there's mixed reviews on it. It's called xylitol. Some people say it's safe to use, others are saying to avoid it. But in my experience, as long as it's used in small amounts, you can get away with it, but it wouldn't be my first choice, put it that way. And then with regards to, and sort of those are your low calorie or zero calorie sweeteners. And as for other natural sweeteners that I recommend is a little bit of maple syrup, like an organic, pure, clean maple syrup, or a local honey, your raw local honey. You want to find something that's locally produced. It's going to be incredibly good for your immune system as well as for your gut bacteria, because honey is naturally antibacterial. So it's going to kill a lot of the bad guys in your stomach that you don't want there. So those would be my two favorite natural sweeteners. And again, if you are looking to sweeten your food, my first choice is always, where possible, to use things like blueberries or banana. You can do that in a lot of baked goods. Even if I'm making a curry or something and I want it a bit sweeter, I will mash up banana and mix that in there for the sweetness. So you don't always need to be adding sugar to your food or artificial sweeteners.
I love adding blueberries, or I'm sorry, bananas. Like if I'm making a smoothie or something, and frozen fruit seems to be like it can be very, very tart sometimes. So
Mm,
banana is definitely a great resource there.
it
I'm
is.
glad you mentioned xylitol because I was going to ask about sugar alcohols. But as far as buying stevia, I don't know that I've ever seen plain stevia extract in the store. Like it's always a stevia xylitol blend, or even there's a bunch of other stuff in there too. So, have you ever seen like just straight stevia extract anywhere that people can buy?
I have. I have. I cannot remember the brand. I know the stevia that you buy at Walmart. I know that is mixed, and at a lot of public stores as well. They've got like a Truvia blend, and they've got a few. I'm not bashing any blends here or any brands, but the ones that I found at Publix and at Walmart, I know are mixed with erythritol, with a quite high
Okay.
amounts of erythritol, which is also a sugar alcohol. And you'll see it's normally the first ingredient is erythritol, and then second of all is stevia. And that's interesting to note because when you're looking at ingredients, the order that they put it in is based on the quantity. So if you've got erythritol first and stevia second, they could be putting 95% erythritol and just that 5% of pure stevia. A great place to look for things like this when I'm in the States, what I really enjoy is using a company called Thrive Market. It's an online store. And you can find a lot of pure, very clean items, from supplements to snacks to laundry detergent, whatever you need. You can find on Thrive Market. So you definitely get clean stevia. You just want to take a look that there isn't something like erythritol or something that you can't recognize. They may have blended it with something else, which is also normal. There's some, I'm so sorry, I can't think of the name of it now, but there's a sweet compound that they mix with a lot of stevias that isn't harmful, but you don't want to be mixing it with erythritol.
Have you, and again, this is just my curiosity, like if somebody has like an herb garden in their kitchen or something, have you ever seen people grow stevia leaves and like use it? Like how would you
I haven't.
stevia leaf?
I haven't, to be honest. I'm sure it's possible. Anything is possible, but I've never really looked into it. I haven't done it myself. But it would be interesting to know how easy is it to grow, and
You like
how
dry
when
it
you
and
grow
grind
the
it, or how
plant
does that?
itself,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
how do you use it? Just grind it up, or yeah, it would be interesting to know.
Need to look into. So you mentioned weight already a little bit with, sugar and the inflammation and artificial sweeteners and all of that. How does your gut health in general like affect weight loss? Like there's so many people who, they kind of hit a plateau where they just cannot lose more weight. Or maybe there's those last 5 pounds that you just cannot seem to get off. Is
Mhm.
that a time to start looking at your gut?
Definitely. Well, first of all, I think there's always a time to look at your gut,
Yeah.
whether your weight is good or not. You want to check that your gut health is in check, because a damaged gut is present, or something like leaky gut, which is one of the top gut conditions that we come across, or gut permeability, is present in all autoimmune diseases. You're not going to have an autoimmune disease without first having the presence of leaky gut. So leaky gut really is central to most of your health conditions. So you want to always be checking that your gut is in a good shape, because it also gets damaged very, very, very fast through the water we drink, the foods we eat, the stress. Stress is one of the biggest destroyers of our gut health, and a lot of people are just living in a constant state of stress, of chronic stress. So it's always worth checking your gut health. But in relation to people who are maybe struggling to lose those last 5 pounds, so how your gut is really affecting your weight, it can be a few different things. Number one is the gut dysbiosis that I mentioned. When we have too much bad bacteria, too little good bacteria, it creates a stressful environment internally. And what's interesting to note is we tend to think of our brain as the master organ, that the brain tells everything in the body what to do. But you might have heard people often refer to the gut as the second brain. And what happens is we have something called the vagus nerve that runs from our brain down into our gut. And this nerve is one of the ways that our brain is sending messages down into our gut. But the moment the nerve gets into the digestive system, into the gut, it actually spreads out into like thousands and thousands of different nerve endings. So for every one message that our brain sends our gut sends 9 messages back to the brain. So our brain is actually giving more instruction, our gut is giving more instruction to our brain than what our brain gives our gut. And you can think, if you have dysbiosis, so too much bad bacteria, maybe you have a bacterial infection or a parasite that's living in your gut, there is a stressful response there. Your gut bacteria is saying, we're under attack, we need help, save us, help us. And this is sending messages to your brain of stress. Now, what happens when we are stressed is we have cortisol that is released. Our cortisol levels are heightened. And cortisol is our stress hormone. It is also known as the storage hormone. When our cortisol rises, our insulin rises. Insulin, again, storage hormone. No matter what you are eating, when you have higher levels of cortisol, when you have higher levels of insulin, no matter what you are eating, most of it is going to be stored as fat, because you are in the stress response, the survival mode. The body, the brain is saying we need to survive. We need to store whatever we can to be used when we are under attack. So gut dysbiosis or bacterial infections can definitely create a stress response in your body, which would increase your inflammation, increase your cortisol, increase your insulin. Second of all is something that we call leaky gut. And this is, I don't know if you've spoken about it much in the series. I don't want to talk too much into it.
Not a ton, and definitely not towards weight loss.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So leaky gut can definitely impact your weight loss, because again, when we have this barrier that's opened up, that's permeable, you have bacteria, you have toxins, you have food that is escaping into the bloodstream. And because 80% of our immune system lives in that gut area, the moment anything escapes through, and you think you're eating 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, there's toxins constantly being produced in the gut. So there is for 24 hours a day, there are always things leaking into the bloodstream, which is increasing your inflammation. So again, those last 5 pounds that you are struggling to lose could very much be related to the inflammation that's being caused by leaky gut, by an infection. And this is why we see the moment we start to treat gut health, we do it in combination. We treat the gut, we bring down some inflammation, and we treat the liver to see if there's any backed up toxins, or if your liver is a little bit sluggish. And the moment we tackle those 3 areas, you see those last 5 pounds, that weight that you're struggling to lose, you may have hit a plateau. That's where things just start to melt away. It's gut health, it's inflammation, and it's your liver, your detoxification system that could be backed up. And it's all linked. It's all linked, because if your gut is leaky, if your gut is damaged, and it's producing all these endotoxins, which is normal. It does produce toxins, but the more bad bacteria we have, the more of these toxins we're going to be producing. And that's now leaking out of your gut into your bloodstream. And our blood is filtered through our liver. All the blood in our body goes through our liver every 60 minutes. So about 24 times a day on average, all the blood in your body is going through the liver. So if you have this constant flood of toxins that's coming into your liver from externally, internally, it's going to become backed up. It's going to become sluggish. And what's it going to do with those toxins? Where is it going to go? It's going to get stored in your fat cells. It's going to get stored in your joints, making them stiff and achy, making them inflamed. So if we can calm down, if we can fix the gut, if we can fix the leaky gut, we're going to minimize the amount of toxins the liver has to process as well, and therefore store excess.
I had never put those two together before, and I don't know why. But leaky gut and toxins in your body have to go through your liver, and then your liver gets bogged down and can't do its job as well. And yeah, those toxins get stored in your body. And then, have you ever experienced when somebody like dramatically loses a lot of weight, like they feel horrible because all of those toxins are kind of like getting released in their body?
I have, and there's a big misconception of a lot of people that when you detox, you have to feel worse before you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
That is not true. It does happen, but it shouldn't be happening. So you don't want to put yourself into a situation where your body's releasing more toxins than what it can eliminate. You need to listen to your body and go at its pace. Go at your body's pace. Go with what it can handle. So we start with generally with these smaller sort of cleansers or detoxes to start cleaning out the liver. And then what we often do is we'll start to pull toxins that are stored in the tissues or in the joints. We slowly start to pull them out and allow the liver to process it. Because if you do it too fast, if you're pulling all these toxins, because remember, if they're not being processed by the liver, they're being stored somewhere. So when you are pulling this out of your tissues into your bloodstream, but your liver is still not able to excrete or to filter it, to detoxify these toxins, they're just going to float through your bloodstream and get reabsorbed somewhere else that could cause further issues that you don't want. So you need to go at your own pace. You might feel a little bit more tired initially, but you don't want to have severe outward symptoms. Then you are going too fast.
That's a really good point.
No, you need to be careful. And a lot of the time I've seen, I wouldn't say often, but I have experienced it where people have said the moment they start exercising, they get sick quite soon afterwards. They feel quite tired and they get sick afterwards, and then they don't want to exercise. And that again can just be the toxins that are being released. It doesn't mean you are going too fast, but there are toxins that are coming out. So don't give up on your exercise regime because you're feeling sick. You don't want to do it, overdo it, of course, but don't throw in the towel. Don't give up. Get better. Get your immune system strong. If you're getting sick from exercise, from these toxins being released, it's a very good sign that your immune system is run down. We shouldn't be getting sick that easily. Our body should be able to fight a lot of the toxins. So, I mean, there's many parts to health, and I don't want it to sound overwhelming because it's really not. There's just a simple formula that you need to follow, and things can change around for you completely. You just got to have a roadmap, get some guidance, go at your body's pace, listen to your body, and be patient.
And it's kind of back what you said earlier about, the all or nothing thinking is, you don't have to go to the gym and work out for 2 hours for some type of workout to be beneficial. And I think it's really encouraging when you were saying earlier about, a couple meals can change your gut, which means, it's okay to start slow. And if you mess up, one afternoon, make your next meal great because you can start back on that right track right away. It doesn't have to be months and months and months of being perfect to see any difference.
Yeah. It's we're not aiming for perfection. We're just aiming for a bit of progress. That's all it is. Let go of things needing to be perfect. It's one step in the right direction. And if you mess up, you mess up. Like, that's okay. Use that as an opportunity to get feedback. If I've planned to do something for 5 days or 10 days or to eat a certain way, and I don't follow through on what I said, I don't throw in the towel. If I ate that pizza, I ate the pizza, move on from it. But then I ask myself, all right, well, why? Why did I do that? What did not work for me in that time? Maybe I was busy and I was tired and that was the only thing available. Now I know, okay, that is likely to happen in future. So how can I pre-make a meal that I can put in the freezer? Or how can I get a healthy, like ready-made meal? Maybe I need to get a meal delivery service for 3 meals a week or something like that. So I don't go to the bad stuff when I don't have time. But in order for me to come to that realization, I needed to just take a step back and ask myself, why did that happen? Was it because I had a bad day and I was stressed and I just didn't care? Okay, well, how can I start to minimize my stress? Or what is something else I can do next time to relieve my stress instead of turning to food? But it's a bit of self-reflection that is needed.
And that is where we're going to leave it for today. I don't know about you, but my jury is still out on stevia. I'm just not sure about it. I've read too many things, and I'm not going to repeat them until I dig in more, but I'm just not quite convinced. I have been experimenting with allulose, though, and I'm curious if you've heard it or tried it, or if you know anything compelling one way or the other. If so, I would love to hear it, so shoot me an email at support@jennahostetler.com and tell me what you know and who you heard it from. So next time, on the last part of our interview with Stephanie, we're going to explore body awareness, learning to listen to your body and hear what it is telling you so that you can heal your gut, eliminate that myriad of angry gut symptoms, and finally lose the weight and kill disease. But until then, go to the show notes and grab the Gut Brain Upgrade Blueprint and start on your roadmap to healing your gut, reducing stress, clearing your brain, and eliminating those last few lingering pounds. Take action, stay empowered, and I'll see you next time.